Okay, I think we are live streaming already. So hi everyone, my name is Kinga. I'm a media expert and the founder and CEO of Mediaspace.global, and this is a great pleasure to welcome you today. I have with me Lavina Sevendiran, our head of content and communications at Mediaspace.global, who is our tech host today. And we are going to have a couple of very, very interesting special guests who will be introduced soon. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, this conversation about the rise of humans and humanoids, because we believe this is a very, very interesting topic since social media and the creator economy has increased the importance of individuals, and because some of them became so powerful and so influential that they are competing directly with traditional media companies and celebrities in terms of their reach and influence. So it's a very interesting developing area, and it's a very great news that we are going to have some innovators today to discuss the new trends. So what we are going to do today is, this is our monthly global networking session at Mediaspace.global. Mediaspace is existing to connect professionals all over the world and to break local and elitist business bubbles and connect people directly to meet people, not just profiles. And in this way, to help you to stay ahead of the curve and find new opportunities. So we are starting with a panel discussion with our special guests today. That's what we are live streaming, so you can follow it now or you can watch it later. And the second part will be not public one, but a conversation with those who are attending on the link that we are using for this interactive event. We are recording everything, so if you are not okay with that, please leave now, because we are going to share it with our premium members later. Also important to note that we are only allowing humans to attend our events, so we are removing any AI meeting assistants and anyone who is not a special guest. So I would suggest to start, and let me do a quick introduction with our three special guests. And I would like to ask Pam first to introduce herself. Then let's move to Matthew and then Attila. And then we are going to kick off the conversation. Pam, please.
Okay. Yeah. So hi there. My name is Pam Moore, and hello, everybody. I love the waves. And I spent 15 years working corporate tech. I was sharing a story with them yesterday. My robotics AI activities date back to, if you remember the movie Terminator, and you remember the data silo he was in that held a terabyte of data. I used to manage the software, automated cartridge library system software, I think is what it was called, that ran those robotics. And what used to be 1 terabyte of data that was in a room, we now can put in our pockets. So I've been an entrepreneur for 13 years now, and I really help companies bridge the gap between technology and how humans do or do not want to adopt technology. So have a lot of fun on the interwebs and helping humans utilize technology to really achieve their goals.
Thank you, Pam. And you are an influencer yourself as well. And let's add that you are a human influencer. I think it's a very funny thing that we have to add that these days. So Matthew, your turn, please.
Hello there. My name is Matthew Chavira. I'm based in Southern California, and I am, amongst other things, involved in Hanson Robotics, where I oversee the global appearances of Sophia the Robot. And Sophia is a media sensation. She's been invited to just about every large-scale business event that you can think of, as well as a number of really notable private events. And it's been tremendously rewarding to be part of the projects that the world's biggest brands are working on and incorporating Sophia into, because they want to position themselves and associate themselves with this movement of like the rise of humanoid robotics. So it's been great. And from that work, I have went on to represent through my own company a number of individuals outside of Hanson Robotics who are also making significant contributions in the fields of AI and robotics.
Well, thank you so much, Attila, please.
Okay, my name is Attila Kassitzky. I'm from Budapest, Hungary, and I've been working in an advertiser and might call myself a strategy person for 23 years. And my passion and how I come to this group is about ed technologies. And I'm started my own agency in this year will be 5th year. And we already have two ed tech solution, which is one is public, another one is ordered by a company which is not public, but it's interesting. The public one is Syntax, which is a contextual targeting solution for mostly in the European language market. And other technology which I will talk about today, a little bit more details, is about influencers planning and checking and analyzing and things like that. And I'm really passionate about robotics and all digital fruity things.
Great, thank you so much. So let's start with the first very, very basic question. How did you become the professional who you are today? What made you believe that this is your direction, being an influencer, B2B expert in case of Pam, an AI prophet, and AI influencer yourself, Matthew and Attila, measuring influencers and inventing all kinds of adtech solutions that have not been existing so far. So Pam.
Yeah, so I think mine, I mean, it started, we don't have time to go back all the years, right? But I've always been a nerd, and it's the right left brain. And one thing dates back to college, because I have a CIS and then a marketing degree, kind of double, not kind of double, it is. And I got so far in my career, and I remember we were programming things and I wanted to talk about it. And I'm sitting there next to all these super smart, more smart nerds than me. And I was like, isn't it so cool what we just did? And they're like, yeah, that's cool, but we don't need to talk about it. And so that was kind of when I realized it was really about that communication. And I spent so many years in corporate America, big tech companies, small tech. And I saw that was where I struggled the most, was getting people to adopt change. So, all different levels of change. But then that's where I really started to create my own agency inside of corporate America. And everybody started to tell me, all my colleagues, you need to just go out and do your own thing because you're doing it anyway inside of this company. And so that's what I did. And I knew I could be more help to people from the outside versus inside the corporate walls, and to really drive change. And I love nothing more than seeing people learn something that they think they can't learn, or that they think they don't want to learn. Like, I'll always pick that person in the room that says, there's no way this is going to work. That's my guy, or that's my girl. Right. And it's like, if I can get Sally on board, then all the rest of them will see, wow, Sally likes this. She'll hang out with Sophia. And so that's just, I love the study of humans and why they do the things they do, why we do them individual, and why we do them as a group. And so everything else pretty much happened organically with that passion.
That's great. Thank you so much. Matthew, what's your story?
Yeah, my introduction into the field of AI and robotics has happened purely by chance. Very briefly, there was a theoretical physicist, Michio Kaku, who's kind of made a name for himself as being a futurist speaker. He had a TV show in which he was interviewing a gentleman at the time. This is maybe 8 or 9 years ago. That was, even at the time, a famous AI researcher, though nowhere near as famous as he is now. His name is Ben Gortzel, and he has a very iconic look. He has a specific intonation in his voice, and he ended up sitting next to me on a plane one day, and I knew that I recognized him. And I had this long-standing passion of AI, and so the conversation was just so rich, and he could tell I was genuinely interested in it. That he would frequently bring me up in meetings with the CEO of Hanson Robotics, David Hanson, and he said, when we're ready to commercialize Sophia as a product and like start putting her out there and making a push for this, I think I know a guy who would be really genuinely passionate and like could assist in this. And that's how I became introduced into the field, really.
That's cool.
Yeah, very interesting story as well. And we will get back to some parts of it, but let's hear Attila's story.
The long and short story. The long story is that when I was a child in the 80s in Hungary, we didn't really have TV that much, but somewhere around 86, we somehow figured out how to get American-like channels like Sky Channel. And that was the time when I seen my first international advertising campaign, which was done by Colgate. And I was amazed. And ever since I wanted to do commercials. Later on, I became working for agencies, advertising agencies. And my second passion, which is like the short one and recent one, is that since I'm working for clients and I see the barriers and difficulties what they're facing when they choose anything on digital, then I always think of how to prepare an adtech solution for them to become better marketers and they sell their product easier. And that was my goal with this product as well.
I was on mute, sorry. So thank you, Attila. And in the meantime, one of our non-executive directors has arrived. So hi, Phil.
Hi, yeah. Sorry I'm late. I will explain. Neighbours arrived in our village. The removal company had a piano and they didn't have any way of getting it off. So I called my friend who had a tractor and he lifted it off.
Wow.
I'm like,
It's
sounds like an
nice to have a
excuse.
friend
Less
with a
inspiration story.
And I have photographs to prove it. So sorry.
Okay, so going back to the journeys that you had so far, I wonder, and jumping to the current era and trends, what do you believe the most influential trends are from your perspectives in this influencer marketing era? First of all, I would love to know what your definition of influencers is, because we've got lots of names. We call them celebrities. That's a bit old-fashioned for some people. Content creators are normally called influencers, but it changes all the time. We've got prophets in case of Matthew's portfolio. So I wonder who you believe an influencer is, and from your professional perspectives, what the main trends are currently. So can I ask you, Pam, again to start? You are on mute.
Duh, I need to be smarter than the mic button. So I think an influencer gets so confused, right? It's not just the Kim Kardashians of the world, and in reality, we're all influencers. And so it's being able to influence, and my belief is thought and action, right? And that's something I've really seen over the last 10 years, even with our company, and why I'm making a big shift and have some big announcements coming up is there's so many people that have been following me, and I'm using this as an example, for 10 years, okay? They've been listening to all the podcasts, all the videos, but they have not taken action, okay? So maybe they've taken action on tasks, but to me, a true influencer can get them to take an action at that moment, right? And I think as marketers, we're really good at that. I think we can get somebody to buy something, to grab something, but where I really want to see influencer work go is driving those implementations, right? And so it's how can we actually move society? How can we move business? How can we invest even more into humans to help them be successful in business and life? So I think there's the influencer of yesterday, and I think there's the influencer of where we're going, because right now, because of technology, when we talk about trends, it's made it a lot easier to be an influencer now than it was even when some of us started on Web 2.0 10 years ago, right? And so now there's so many tools and technologies. I mean, y'all probably remember duct taping like Twitter chats and those things together, literally, and getting thrown in Twitter jail. And I mean, those are the problems we had, and those don't exist anymore, right? And now that we have the technology that can take some of that work away, and looking at these robots and AI as our friends, how can we now do even better things for our audiences and our communities? So I think it's influencing thought, influencing action, but where I really believe it is going and needs to go is that influencing those right actions, and where we can influence people to come together. And how can we all, we is greater than me. And so I think that is where true influence comes in. It's about OPC, other people's content and other people's community. How can we work together for the greater good?
Mm-hmm. And influencers are those influential people who make any kind of commercial or social or political impact. So you speak in general when you speak about these actions?
Yeah, I mean, they have to have trust from their audience. And, I think about, there's some people I know here locally. I live in Orlando, Florida. And, there's a couple of people I know that work in politics and, on different school boards and those types of things, governance within the community. Some of these people, if you looked at them, they don't have 100,000 followers. Okay. But one post, there's one particular woman I am friends with, and I think about one particular post on her Facebook page would change your life, right? And so it could get you the contracts you need. It would, and if you had an authentic relationship with her. So I think it's looking at who are those people that you need to influence, and then who are the people that influence those people, right? And that's what we teach, is this tiered system. And I think that many business leaders today, they don't dream big enough, right? And they have this dream list of all these companies and clients they want to work with and people, and they think, you'll hear, your network is your net worth, but it's also who knows you. And they think that these people don't know them, when in reality, they do. When reality, your network is bigger most of the time than what you think it is. And particularly if you are publishing content that's helping other people, I guarantee you there are more people that know you than what you realize know you.
That's very interesting. Absolutely, especially for the traditional content providers, bringing this network view on it. So yeah, I think it may make absolute sense and very, very interesting. So Matthew, what's your definition of influencers, and what the main trends are in your view?
I would say that an influencer is someone who has the ability to drive change around their specific focus. And this shows up a lot recently in the AI space. And there is a whole movement and a host of creators, AI creators, who are using digital avatars to represent the causes that are most passionate about them. And one example would be someone who I represent. His name is Jörg Zuber. He's the creator of Nunori. Nunori is a digital advertiser who major fashion brands, including Kim Kardashian, have engaged with Nunori. She's like a cute, lovable digital character, but she stands for the ethical treatment of animals and environmentalism. So it's been a privilege to see this kind of space unfold as it relates to AI and specifically the digital influencers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to ask at this point that, do you see any difference between the human influencer trends compared to the synthetic AI influencers?
No, not necessarily. Not that I'm aware.
Interesting. Thank you. Attila, what's your definition of the influencer? And
yeah, I'm not an academic person, but I try to give you an academic definition of what I think of. Okay. I think influencer is one to inspire the other to do an action, which action is whatever. If it's brand related, it's of course it will be a sales thing, but The question is who could be influencers. For example, everybody's first influencer is mom and dad. And the culture, the social interface where they are living. And then TV was in my generation. And this is the next thing, that what's channel will be the influencer. And then how they do it on that channel, it could be a peer-to-peer, that one person, and can be now in digital way, that through computers, it will be Instagram or an AI, whatever, it doesn't matter, but it could be an influencer. The question is, what's the point of influencing? For example, you mentioned politics, that's also important, but also selling a product, or just, for example, someone this is going to be a serious one, but this is the idea what I had. Someone has, for example, mental problems, and the person's friends somehow tells him how to get help. That's an influencing as well. And that wouldn't be able to influence by any other channels, but only the friend who he can get credit from him. And just regarding to the question you mentioned about AI and human versus human, I think in the future it doesn't matter. It will depend, of course. Once again, the team, the idea, and the channel, what is better for the person. So I think AI will be influential more and more, as soon as they will get the credit as more and more, and they will get the credibility for sure in the future. Now everybody's testing, and later it will be more credible, so they will probably win the game in the future, but that's my guess.
What do you think about it, Matthew and Pam?
You're on mute, Pam.
Yeah, so I think I agree with everything you just said, and I think that there will be some influencers that come up, as there always is when there's a new technology or anything new, that will become influencers, kind of like even what happened to me, and they aren't planning to be an influencer. They just want to be part of what's happening and influence the community. And those are the ones, honestly, I think to watch out for a lot, like people that kind of fall into this space and they're just nerding out about it. Like we were talking about yesterday, Matthew, like, you and Sophia, it's these people that you're like, who's Matthew? Like I was on the Zoom with him yesterday. I'm like, we need to hang out. And it gives opportunity for a whole birth of these new people. And I think that also you made me think of something when you were talking to Attila about driving the action. And also it's so much about the endurance, right? The people that invest time in even bringing people together. So even when somebody's putting the blood, sweat, and tears on bringing a community together, they may not at that time right now even know everything about AI. None of us do, or know even that much. But the fact that they're bringing people together, and if they stay with that for the long term, they may not be influencing day-to-day transactions, but their community is, right? The power is then in the people that they're bringing together to have these conversations. And then over time, they wind up being able to have more influence than they maybe even ever plan to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, actually, just can I jump onto this just because you inspired my thought? Even one moment can put just one seed in the people's idea, and might be it's not going to flourish right away, but in years times. And sure. You never know who was the first person or first something that influenced the community or whatever. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and Sophia's really good at this, at driving conversation and people talking about like AI and how it's going to develop and how it's going to influence. Like, so she's, maybe people aren't necessarily that interested about AI specifically and don't really know how to conceptualize it. Well, she's a really good pathway to that kind of conversation.
It's interesting you call her a she.
She does identify as a female, so yes.
Okay.
Most of the robots are
if you were to ask her herself, she will say, I am a female robot.
Okay. Okay, the obvious questions these days, of course. Yeah. I wanted to
see one. She was a lady as well, and that's inspiring as well. You know, like,
who was it? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
There was a movie called Scene One.
Scene One.
And she was the she as well. I mean, her, whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, what I was going to ask you about is that we spoke about different impacts, and I especially would be interested in the commercial impacts, because many media space members are CMOs, content creators, and so on. So what do you think the best commercial use of influencers are? And obviously there are lots of types of them, so I would ask you specifically, in case of Matthew, what you believe the best use of Sophia is, in case of Pam, those kind of influencers that you are, for example, and Attila, you've got a huge database, so I wonder if you can pick up a good example that you could mention as a good use case.
Okay.
Pam, can we start with you?
Yeah, so as far as, so you want me to answer utilizing influencers and
in a commercial way, what's the
okay.
best
Yeah,
way?
so I think the best way is to look at people that understand business and technology. And then I think there's also a space if you want to just really get geeky with the technology as well, partner that with somebody that can partner with that person to understand your business. Right. And that's something we do in our business. We love working with other people inside of a client, and it doesn't always just have to be our ideas. And so it's bringing the best minds together. But I think look at somebody who has, look for people who have seen the evolution of technology. Right. And they don't, I'm not saying they have to be as old as I am or whatever, but that they understand where technology has been and where it's going. Because if they don't understand and come into your organization, all they know is of today, they need to also understand the mindset of what your team and your culture is feeling and dealing with. Because unless you address the belief systems that these people have, that your team has, what projects have been utilized in the past that they've tried to implement that have succeeded or not, that would be one of the first questions I would ask is what does your technology evolution look like? So you need to have somebody that can help guide those conversations with you and somebody that you can trust and be willing to share the good, bad, and the ugly. So we always say, throw the skeletons on the table. Let's just deal with it. What happens in this room stays in this room, but we need to know everything, because otherwise I can't help you do better this time, right? And so it's, how can we where is it we want to go? What do we want to achieve? But we may not even know exactly what tomorrow looks like in 3 years. And so it's deciding where we want to take our business, how we want to take that business to improve, and how we really want to serve people better. And I think if we look at the technology and you bring in somebody who can influence mind and thought and action and help drive those transformations you're looking for, and you're looking at how it's going to make it better for your people, for your team, for your culture, for your community, for your partners, for your clients, those are the companies that are going to win. And I spent the last 2 years during COVID working with, I got pulled into a client site. You know how that happens. Sometimes you end up really tight and you're not planning to be, but I got pulled into a client that is really cool. And they do human performance mindset type of training. So just really helping people smash limiting beliefs. And so I had the benefit of being able to consult with many enterprise brands over the past couple of years and really dig into during COVID what was happening culturally. And that's really what's driving a lot of the new things I'm doing now, is because so many people are just hurting. Like they're broken, they're burnt out. The leaders are burnt out. I mean, you can look at every layer of the organization. And when I look at technology, there are so many solutions that technology can bring, and particularly with AI, but yet so many organizations, they don't even have a culture. Their values don't even really support utilizing the technology in the way that they need to do it. Like there needs to be this whole mindset shift. Does that make sense? they need to look at the brand culture of who they are and how they're going to address the market of today, and looking at people, technology, processes, everything. And as we were consulting with companies, we heard so many of them say, hey, can you help us connect the dots between what is our culture and what is brand and who are we to the outside world? And somebody picks up an AI tool, a sales rep or a marketing manager. What are within your values? What are within your guidelines, your policies that are going to help guide that person to use that tool in the right way? Like, who are we and how do we use this technology? Because it gets into the ethics and the integrity of who we are. Are we going to use it to just cheat and copy everybody else? Or are we going to use it to refine our messaging and our work and our code or whatever? How are we protecting our IP? I mean, there's so many questions that get to the heart of what the soul of that company is, right? And so it's deep. I mean, it's multiple layers. And so I think if you're really, large organizations and medium size that are looking at implementing some of these technologies, they need to go there. And it doesn't need to cost them a fortune to go there. It's just, you just need to put a little bit more thought into it before, as you're starting to test these things.
I find it very interesting because we speak about lots of new technologies, disrupting techs and adtech thing, innovation, lots of pragmatic issues, marketing knowledge, and everything that is needed to create commercial value. And at the end of the day, you are suggesting that the mindset should be right, which is a very soft but probably very, very crucial thing. And it's absolutely in line with our experience in terms of media space, who is joining, why is joining. That's all about mindset. And despite we've got very senior people from all around the globe, they might look very different, but at the end of the day, they are all open to change and open to new things. So that's very interesting for me that you said that at the end of the day, people and their mindsets just matter. So thanks for this.
Yeah. And what people forget is that we control our thoughts. Like, we can control our thoughts and our beliefs, right? And so a leader needs to be looking at really assessing right now, what does your team believe of these technologies? If you have a team of 10 people and they all believe that this stuff is going to take their job and it's going to make their life heck, they're not going to be open, right? So that investment in that mindset shift could be the best investment you possibly make to get to where you want to go. Right.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move to Matthew. What's your thinking about it?
Through Sophia, it's been really nice because she's been able to get involved with the kind of advertising and marketing movements of a lot of wonderful companies. And this can, AI is kind of this vague thing. And Sophia is used very often as a catalyst to kind of dispel some of the apprehensions that maybe their client base has. So one example would be for a major credit card company, in which Sophia was used to talk about how some of their AI algorithms that they have now taken in place can help their customers make better financial decisions. And Sophia did a wonderful job in this campaign. It's for a Turkish bank. And another example was to inspire tourism through the government of Abu Dhabi, and specifically Etihad Airlines. So she did a campaign with one of their leadership, their government leadership members, and she, it was just like displaying all of like the wonderful things that the country of Abu Dhabi has to offer. And she went along and visited its most famous attractions, and it was this fantastic campaign that I encourage everyone to come and view.
Can you tell us, because I just can't imagine how it works in practice. So there is a programmer or a team of people probably who make Sophia do what she does. And so how is it? There is a strategic meeting behind it. So how does it work in practice until she does something in real time as an action?
Yeah, usually I'll initially meet with the client hear what they're trying to do. We try to give them as much license as possible and try to accept as many of their requests, of what their vision exactly is. Ultimately, the decision ends up on David Hansen's desk, where he will approve or deny or change any sort of claims that are made therein, to ensure that whatever that campaign or thing that she's attaching her image to is aligned with what she stands for, which is AI for good, essentially.
Right. Okay, that's very interesting. And I'm sure there are lots of details, so thank you for summarizing it. Attila, what's your view how to do the best in terms of commercial activities?
Okay, my mind is influenced by many marketers who I ever met in the past, and therefore I'm a little bit ground to earth. So the most important things for them is mentioned ahead of me, but just give them a right title. So the first thing they look for is credibility, then relevancy. They really want influencers that not overused or wrongly used, and then they want transparency. This is a funny part when Matthew talking about Sophia. This is and I already mentioned that in the future AI could win this game against human, and this is if I just remind you, transparency, that's the only question at the moment, but in the future probably it will be solved. But credibility and relevancy and not overusingness is it's easy for the AI, because they can recreate or newly create anyone or any identity. Also important thing I think for the influencing, what to use them for, and I have some data from just 1 second to the global web index I looked up, and mostly the number one to use the influencer for is building awareness, then product or brand introduction, that's the second, and the thirdly it would be the image building thing. Of course, there are situation or brand strategies that this ranking would be different in my view, but this is how the global web index said it in 2022. But I think this is it. In good practice, if you want me to, do you want me to talk about a little bit the technology, what we are did, and give you a good idea of how it works, or that would be the...
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this crypto influencer example that you mentioned yesterday.
The software what we are using is basically on the social. It's collecting social data and influencer data, and just give you an idea how difficult it is to give credibility, relevancy, not overused, and transparent influencer to a client who's like have a difficult campaign, like a Hungarian owned cryptocurrency producer who wants to piloting his cryptocurrency solution in the Hungarian market. Hungarian market is small, and therefore the influencers pool is small as well. And when I've been working with influencers and on this subject for like 10 years, and I always think I know all of them in a Hungarian market, but of course there is no possibility of this. He asked me if I can provide him influencer that can help his subject, and I told him that no way, I don't know anyone. But then I went to the software and I looked it up, and I came out for solution for him. 23 person in Hungary can help him out, and there are like nano, micro, and macro influencer among them. So actually, when he gave me the budget of his capability, I can decide who will be available for him. And then, of course, what we are really proud of that we can plan how to reach the maximum engagement with an amount of budget with the possible influencer that we had at our disposal. The funny thing that Kinga knows that, but I tend to say that at the moment, this is a Hungarian market, but this software works globally. So it's I can do the same thing for I just said, for example, like Uganda or anywhere else.
Yeah, thank you. And what I was very much interested in, or why I was interested in these stories, because when you told this, I was just thinking that we don't have a transparent view, like a quantitative view of influencers. We don't know who are on the map. Obviously, there are influencers who have a huge and great PR, while others don't. So I think starting from a media planning perspective to know what's on the market and who to deal with, obviously doesn't matter if it's a human one or a humanoid. But still understanding the market as a whole, I think it's a minimum request for a marketer or any kind of content provider, and for some reason it has been missing for years. So that's why I was happy to learn about that. And also I just wanted to ask the last question, because we are running out of time soon. That you mentioned, Attila, this global web index that most people, or those who responded the survey at least, preferred influencers for awareness, while all three of you, and I tend to join you, believe that the real influencer is the one who can make an impact. So I just wonder that from commercial or marketing perspective, there might be different objectives and different solutions, selection of influencers, as well, depending on what the target is. So probably if Pam mentioned that and we see that you've got a huge audience, and if someone wants to, I don't know, send a message to people like in your audience, then you might be a good one. You mentioned that you don't always create actions as much as you would like to. Probably if someone wants to sell something very badly, then they need to find another type of solution. So probably that's another kind of evaluation in the metrics when we speak about what kind of influencers we want to work with. Or am I right?
Yeah.
Or wrong?
Yeah, and let me clarify what I was saying too. So like when our campaigns, like I drive an 80 to 100% conversion on free offers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So any brand loves that. So if they have an offer, a free trial, I have an 83% average rate that I can convert if I get them to one of my landing pages, because I have trust with my audience. Right. I also can get them to convert and buy. Okay. So I have no problem getting them to buy. What I was talking about was the long-term implementation of change that all organizations are struggling with today, right? So they like if we look at the churn rate, yeah.
Thanks for clarifying this. This is I agree with you definitely, because if you put out a free coupon, then you are making action, but that's not the only measurement and not the only purpose of a campaign. So I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah,
but most marketers and content and PR people think in short term. So it means that it might be a very, how to say, demanding request, what Pam is expecting, or you are expecting from influencers in terms of a longer change. So I understand that these are two different things, and sorry for mixing them up. I didn't get the original one. Okay, so the last question. What's your one piece of advice that you believe marketers and content providers should learn from influencers as of today? Who to start with, Matthew?
Yeah, sure. Don't be afraid of the coming changes and the things that are taking place right now. Young people specifically are doing some really fantastic stuff with AI, and like in the creator world in this space is just so vibrant right now. It's almost unbelievable. And I'm just like really happy to see all of this like passion coming into the field of AI, and watching artists and people play with it to see, what kind of interesting stuff is coming of it.
Thank you. Attila, what's your one piece of advice?
Somehow I have to have this question to answer in a different way. In influencer, as an influencer, I would say that just make sure that you choose the right one, and use somehow data as your helping guide, because it's better. And I don't think social channels has enough data available at first glance to select the perfect one. The other thing, which is I think is more interesting, is AI thing. I would say the same thing with as Matthew, because I love this AI revolution or evolution, whatever. That we shouldn't be afraid. Of course, I'm not as young to be afraid, because in 20 years, who cares? I don't know. But I believe that AI will bring us really good stuff. And I think there will be huge questions about how this AI works. And it's the funny part is that we are like 10 billion people on the planet. And I think the funny thing is that we are all heard. And all the solution what AI will produce out, it will be all of us in it somehow, which is really interesting. And I would have a separate question to Matthew about this, because I'm really interested, and this is going to be my next discovery in the future, which I'm interested of, that how can I change AI's mind about something that he has more data than I have, but I'm, for example, I'm the solely person who has invented something that I want to say, and I will explain that later, but that wasn't the question.
Okay, so let's finish with Pam's advice, one piece of advice that you believe the most important.
I agree with everything they both said. And I think it's so important to not be afraid and to just get out there and test. And I agree with the creators that are out there now. They're not afraid to test, right? And we need to do the same thing, because so many people I've already worked with and spoke with that we're holding back. Once you get them on some of these technologies, their first thing is, why didn't you tell me this sooner? It's like, I did. And so it's not as, I mean, it's so scientific and deep, like we can go layers deep, but start at those first couple layers. And there's things that can help your job, your life today. Like, I mean, you could start testing it now and see some benefit today. And then I think when it comes to choosing influencers, I think it's just really, it's everything you just said, Attila, and it's looking at the data. I think the data absolutely matters. And there are people that fluff the stuff that they have going on their profiles, and there's so much fake. And so you need to do what we call the double click and ask for the references, ask for the, if you're wanting, it depends on those objectives. If you're wanting awareness only, somebody to drive awareness, you're looking at a different set of KPIs. Okay. If you're also wanting them to drive a transformation in your company, like you may hire an influencer to drive change to help train, then you want to make sure that they have some clients that they've drove actual change within a company, that their training has actually drove an outcome over time or however long they were working with it. So if you're wanting to drive sales, just you got to look at the data, and the data matters. And some people will say it doesn't matter. It matters, right? And so it's more than just views. I mean, we can all go turn up views if we want on our platforms and pay for views and make it look like it was organic. And I'm all about organic and driving as much as I can with real thought and action.
Great. Thank you so much. I would like to ask you, Lavina, to stop the